Just because you're not in the middle of a heart attack as we speak, it does not mean you're not headed for one, right? So what's going on inside of your environment?
So the topic for today, the topic for this week is, how do I know if my IT is good? And this is a great question, because if you're in if you have the circumstance where you have to rely on somebody else to tell you whether or not something that you're paying for is worth it, especially if that's the person who you're paying,
Right.
that could be a little sketchy. So for businesses who are wondering, how do I know whether my IT provider is good, my IT service is good, my IT support is good, when I don't know anything about it myself, how would you respond to that?
Yeah, where do you get started with trying to judge your environment? One of the first things I'd say is, obviously, if you've got a lot of noise and a lot of issues going on, that might be indicative of a problem with your IT support. And I say it might be. It may be their fault, but it also might be that you've just neglected your environment terribly over the years. And so they're dealing with a really bad situation to begin with. And so the noise that you're seeing is a product of that bad environment. But one thing that is going to be consistent with all information technology providers that are good is that they're going to be working really hard to clean up that environment that's making all that noise. And they're going to be talking to you regularly about what's wrong with your current setup, why it is that things shouldn't be done that way, the risks that those decisions or those configurations are presenting to you, as well as the sort of efficiencies you could get out of your system if you made changes to your environment. So I would say the first and biggest thing to know if you're getting good IT support is your IT provider trying to meet with you regularly to inform you about the condition of your environment? And are they making recommendations to you about how you can make that environment better?
If you're not having any problems, can you just assume off the bat that, oh, I'm not having any problems, so my IT person must be doing a great job?
Yeah, no. Right? Obviously, if they're doing a great job and they're leading you down the right path, you shouldn't have a lot of problems. But just because things aren't noisy right now doesn't mean that there's not an issue right now. It's the same thing with your car or with your body. Just because you're not in the middle of a heart attack as we speak, it does not mean you're not headed for one, right? So what's going on inside of your environment? It's really the thing you have to know. Like, what are we dealing with currently? That said, information technology is not about solving problems after they happen. That's not what it's about. That we do that. That's a part of it, right? Information technology is about preventing problems from happening in the first place. It's all about prevention. So if things are quiet, that's good, but why are they quiet? Are they quiet because are they quiet in the sense that you don't hear anything from your information technology company ever? And you're not having problems? Well, yeah, that's quiet, but that's not good. What should be quiet is the customer complaints and the items that are having issues and the difficulty with the systems. That noise should go away, right? The longer you're with an information technology provider, the more time they spend working with you on your environment, the less difficulty you should have with your environment. But just because if you don't have an IT company today, and everything's quiet as far as that doesn't mean you're in a good spot. It just means that maybe you have no idea really what's going on under the hood.
Yeah, I love that. I love that analogy there of a heart attack, and that comparison between your IT provider and your healthcare provider, because they both should be doing preventative care. Ideally with our bodies, we want to make sure to stop something before it starts, because once something happens, the damage could be, catastrophic.
Yeah, the damage is done.
And I assume it's the same thing with IT, or comparable at least.
Well, yeah, if you're waiting for your IT person to help you escape the ransomware attack you just suffered, Wouldn't it have been better to invest in your environment to prevent the ransomware attack in the first place? Not to have had that exposure, not to have put your whole company through that. Like, these are the things that you should be looking for from a good information technology company, that they're talking to you about security. Are they
Awesome.
addressing security with you? Like, that's a major thing. Are they putting some pressure on you to go ahead and implement that password policy, bring in that multi-factor authentication option? Are they telling you, hey, these shared accounts that you've been using for years, I know they're really convenient, but you should stop doing that? Or are they kind of telling, like, another big thing that comes up a lot is like when they say everybody in the company needs a password, and then you come back and go, well, I don't want my account to have a password that changes. Like, I want my password to stay static. Are they saying to you, hey, that's a bad idea? Or if we're going to do that, we should also be implementing multi-factor. Like, is there a dialogue there? Are they brave? Are they pushing back a little on you respectfully? Are they challenging these things? They should be challenging you, because frankly, you probably don't know what's safest for your company when it comes to technology, and you should be relying on them to tell you. That's why you're paying them. It's like if you go into your doctor's office and you tell your doctor, here's everything that's wrong with me, and here's the solution to my problems. I mean, maybe you've studied medicine, but probably you're going to this person because you want their help. And so that's a sign of a really good information technology company, is that they're giving you that help, and you also feel like you can trust what they're saying.
And that kind of goes back to the theme of this lesson, that principal question: how do I know if my IT is good? Well, obviously, if you're asking that question, then you shouldn't be relying on your own solutions to your IT problem. So that makes sense with that little bit of press. Not not to the point of being annoying, but if your IT company isn't pressing you at all, then then that in and of itself could be a problem.
They should be trying to move you forward. Another thing I would say that you should be looking for is you should be able to ask reasonable questions and get answers that are good, and you should be able to get those answers quickly. For instance, if you said to your information technology company, how many computers do I have in my network? Like, they should be able to answer that question and give you an accurate number. And it shouldn't take a week. They should be able to do it, if not on the spot, within an hour. They should be able to say, okay, give me an hour. Let me just pull up my different software, my systems. And it's not that sometimes things don't get slightly out of alignment, and maybe you do have a system that was supposed to be decommissioned, but they should be, if the count's not exactly right, it should be within one or two machines, and they should be able to explain why they're not quite sure about this one or the other machine. And it should be something that they're already working through, but they should be able to answer that question quickly. Right? If you say, can you generate a network map for me? They should be able, if they don't actually have a live self-generating network map because they haven't invested the tools that do that, then they should be able to pull up the latest map that they've worked on. And that shouldn't be from 5 years ago. You know what I mean? They should be updating that regularly. So they should be able to produce answers, produce information, produce data. If you say, bring me all the tickets I've submitted over the last 30 days, 60 days, cool. Can they just give you those tickets? But you'll notice when you ask these things, sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, no problem. And then 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks go by, you still don't have anything. That's because they're not running their business very well, and they're not set up in a position yet to be able to produce this data because they don't have it. And so that's again, that's not just a sign that if they're good or if they're bad, but also that's just an indication as well of their maturity. Like, you might be working with a really young company that just has not matured yet to be able to do these things quickly. And so does that mean they're bad? Well, they're not as far along as maybe some other options out there. And, that can make a difference, a big difference, depending on what kind of company you have.
Well, that whole summary was a good lead up to another question. I guess it partially answers that question as well. But talking about accountability, how can a company make sure they're keeping their MSP or their IT provider accountable for the way that they're taking care of them?
Yeah, well, so not to rehash everything here, but definitely, you should be meeting with your information technology provider regularly. And if they're not asking you for those meetings, you should be asking them for them. And that's really, that's totally reasonable. If you want to sit down with them once a month, if you want to sit down with them once a quarter, you should be doing that so that you can ask the questions of them that you have. In addition to that, it's, you should have somebody who's able to show you how they're doing based on feedback from your environment. So do they have a tool? We use a tool called Smileback. That's one that we're really happy with, right? It's a way for us to survey all of our customers after we finish a support ticket with them. Did you have a good experience? Was that good? Was that bad? They should be giving you that data on a regular basis, making that available to you so that you can see if the people in your organization are getting the support they need. They should also be able to produce like NPS, right? Like net promoter scores, things just where they actually solicit your company and say, would you recommend us to somebody else? Like, how do you feel overall with the job we're doing? And you should be getting this data from them regularly. And that way you can actually compare what they think they're doing to what your people say they're doing in terms of the happiness they're having. The other part of accountability is it depends on what it is you want them to be accountable for, right? If you're talking about security, ask, like, what are you doing to improve our security? And explain it to me. Like, what's your strategy for us for keeping us secure? Ask them, what's your strategy for support? How do you handle escalations? Like, you should have asked these questions before you hired them, but if you didn't, ask it now. How do you handle escalation? So if this happens or that happens, how would you respond to this? What's your process for responding to this issue? Because you definitely want to be working with somebody that is a process-based company that isn't just kind of winging it every time, but actually has a system that's written down somewhere. But those are definitely some things. But the other part for keeping them accountable, you can spot check some things. Do you still have Windows 7 computers in your environment right now? If you do, it's a really bad sign. So you should ask your IT provider, why do we still have Windows 7 systems and how come you haven't come to me about replacing those? Those have been end of life for years. So take a look at your environment. Do you have old Windows 7 machines that have no business being anywhere on your network anymore? That's a bad sign, especially if they haven't brought it to your attention. You can check on patching updates, firmware updates, and things like that if you wanted to get that sort of nitty gritty with it. But again, it really just comes back to, are they communicating? Are they guiding you as a trusted advisor down a better path for your business?
So along with that, would you expect some sort of reporting, or is that something that you should add?
Sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. Yeah, if you can ask for reporting for sure. If you want to see, one of the things you should definitely have is lifecycle management, right? So are they able to produce a report for you that says, here's all the systems you have, here's how old they are, here's when their warranties come up or have come up, and do they have a recommendation for replacement? Are they saying to you, hey, these systems are over 6 years old, you should be replacing them? Definitely. And if they're not doing that, ask them to do that. Okay. That's something you want from them. You want lifecycle management because these systems do need to be replaced. And you don't want to wait for a computer to break before you replace it, because getting another one that's the correct one for your environment, in other words, actually a consumer grade or a commercial grade system, not a consumer grade system, something with a warranty, something that meets your minimum requirements based on what your needs are. Right? Getting that system quickly. Right now, we're in a silicone shortage, right? This is coming out and we're recording this in September of 2021. So, if you're trying to get a laptop from Dell right now, you might wait 3 months to get that laptop. You don't want to be in a position where that thing dies and now you're scrambling to find something to replace it, or you're buying something else that's not adequate. So, should you have that report? Yeah, you should have that report, and they should be giving you guidance on getting ahead of these problems. Should you have reports on ticket counts? If you want a report on how many tickets you've opened and what the SLAs look like, yeah. Have they offered that to you? And if they haven't offered it, can they make it available quickly? Absolutely. everybody does things a little bit differently. Not every MSP is or every IT professional even is going to report how many tickets you put in and how, what the key performance indicators were within their help desk, but they should be able to, and they should be willing to.
That's a lot for any company who's wondering, who has that question, to write down and maybe kind of formulate some questions and a lot of key things to look for. But just in summary, as we always do, we take all of this, we break it down, we make it digestible. Again, as the name of the podcast indicates, we want to make it simple. So 30 seconds or less, Travis, let's make IT simple. How do I know if my IT is good?
If they are meeting with you regularly and operating as a trusted advisor, giving you good recommendations, bringing problems to your attention, pushing on you just a little bit to make things better, and explaining their reasons why. If they're able to produce reporting and useful information rapidly, like if they have it ready now or can make it available within a short period of time, okay, that's the other way. And if they are giving you active feedback with regards to how they're performing according to what your team, your people, and your employees are saying.